First, this movie was not made, but was released during the writers and actors strike. It is an important, it's not cool. It's not a cool strike. Good strike. It's not a good strike. This strike is important. What they're striking for is good. The demands that the actors and writers are putting out are good. We are on their side. They're the good guys. That's okay. That's what I mean. Is that it seems so far, everything I've heard, studios, if you guys are doing good stuff too, if you guys are secretly giving all the best, negotiations and you're trying really hard and, that is everything I've heard is the opposite of that. But if that's true, then tell us. Love to hear it. Would love to hear if the studios are actually going to, make a deal and do the right thing. But, as of now, it doesn't seem like that's the case. And I support the writers and actors striking, obviously. And as far as reviews go, SAG and WGA have been pretty clear that as long as you're not being paid by the studio, which I am not or wouldn't be, that would be weird. No reviewer should be paid by the studio. I feel like I have to say that every single time I do one of these because it is the one caveat. I don't know who that person is, but that guy stinks. But anyway, that's the reason that doesn't count as breaking the picket line or something like that. If they change their mind or they wanted to do a boycott or something like that, that's a different conversation. Be supportive of that too. For now, that's why these still exist, but we got to support these striking writers and actors. I'm also recording this bit after I recorded the full review, so I can just think of one thing that I forgot to say in the review, which is this. The Barbenheimer thing is very strange and cool that it worked. They will learn nothing but the wrong lessons from this. And I don't know, the Saw Paw Patrol thing, it's not the same thing. And it doesn't seem like they're doing it for exactly the same reason. But man, I don't know what studio is going to try to reverse engineer this. The idea that they just made two good movies that both appealed to kind of the same group. An adult could go to the theater and see either one. One was sold out, one wasn't. One took the IMAX screen, one didn't. Whatever that was, that. This dynamic is so specific and so natural that whatever, any article I read in the future that says starts with the next Barbenheimer, it's dumb. Hollywood's dumb. Sometimes it's because they think everything's got to be a Barbenheimer, and sometimes it's because the heads of the studios won't pay the writers and actors fairly. And, both things are dumb. Not equally dumb, but they're both dumb. Okay, so Barbie. Two things before we get to the actual review. I'm not doing this to pick on Barbie or ride the wave of those guys who talk about how everything's bad because it's woke now and every thumbnail is Captain Marvel with a frowny face and the word feminism or something. Yeah, that's not what this is. I do reviews now for every big movie, and Barbie is one of the biggest movies of the year, but it's not just superhero movies. I did Oppenheimer, so I'm doing all of them. And the second thing, it's definitely not exactly for me, but it is a movie for adults. I don't know exactly who the target audience for this movie is. It ain't children. I would say the only person that I would say isn't in the demo for this is a 5-year-old playing with Barbies right now. Not that they couldn't see it, but I think A, a lot of it would go over their head, and B, for that reason, they might find it kind of boring. I think it's got a lot of interesting things to say, but at the same time, it's just weird that at the core of this is a movie about a toy, that the people currently playing with the toy, I don't know what the age for Barbie is. I would say at one point one of the kids in it uses the 5 as an age, but I wouldn't show this to a 5-year-old. But anyway, so those two things. I review every movie. I'm not doing this pick on the movie, and I know that I'm not exactly the target demo. Although I would say people in my age range I'm definitely the right age for this because I recognize all the music from it, and that's always the way that you kind of go, oh, this is for me. But okay, so I think that overall, there's parts of this that really work and parts of this movie that for me didn't. I respect the hell out of this movie. I think it deserves all the praise it's getting in terms of attention. It is a well-made, well-acted, way more clever than it has any right to be Barbie movie. If you told me, 5 years ago, I don't remember when this was set up. This was probably a while because it probably started filming before COVID, I guess. I don't really know what the timeline on this was. But if you told me before we knew all this stuff, they were making a Barbie movie, are you going to go see it? My answer would probably be no. But look at what they've turned it into. Very cool. I think Greta Gerwig is great. I like Lady Bird. I love Little Women. I think her Little Women's fantastic. And I think everybody in this movie is pretty good. Some people are having career best performances, and some people are doing very well, but like not at that exact level. But everybody's playing a really strong game. Also, it looks like it was fun. You want to be one of the Kens or Barbies, not because you want to be, you just want to be on this set. It seems like it was probably a good time. It also seems like it's kind of feels like a play in a lot of ways. And I would not be surprised, mark my words, in like 5 years, there'll be a Barbie musical on Broadway. I'm sure they've already kind of talked about that, and there's probably news articles that you could link to right now. But the idea that like everybody was on set for most of the scenes, right? Like there's so many scenes where you just have big actors, right? Simu Liu standing around doing nothing, but like because he's there. And it felt like you watch a play or a musical where like everybody's in the scene. And then instead of the characters, time passing, going to a different room, everybody else just walks off to the, edges of the stage. And then the main characters are in the center having a conversation. There's stuff like that happens at the end specifically that I was like, this feels like I'm watching a play. I do think timing wise, that would have helped. There were parts of the comedy that didn't work for me. And I'm like, they wouldn't be leaning on this moment as hard if we were there and they could hear the reaction. Like if this was playing every night, they would figure out a better line for Ryan Gosling to scream when he goes behind the door and screams the line, because it doesn't seem to work. It did, at least it really didn't get any reaction in my showing, but like a moment like that can work. And I feel like a lot of that is like, feeding off the energy of the crowd. And there's actors in this cast that are very strong live performers. The two that come to mind are not the main two, or even like, I don't know, probably 7th or 8th build, but like Kate McKinnon is a Saturday Night Live alum. Will Ferrell is a Saturday Night Live alum. Both are excellent at performing in front of a live audience. Honestly, I think you could take this whole crew. I mean, they wouldn't do it because I'm sure they're very busy, but like you could take them all and put them on Broadway as this, and it would probably be pretty fun to watch. And besides the fact that like there's big musical numbers and these big sets that seem like about what you'd expect for a Broadway show, there's also big monologues that feel like what you'd see in like a play, like Fences or something like that. And I only use Fences because it's one of those plays that has lots of monologues, not lots, but some really memorable ones where it is just a character saying everything they've ever thought, like all together. They've been bottling this thought up and they just boom, it all comes out. That's kind of what, there's moments like that in this. I don't think they're bad, but I do think the part of the movie for me that felt the most successful was the comedy. I think this movie is stupid funny when it is like firing on all cylinders funny. The two movies that I would compare it to are two of my favorite movies that are this, which is Zoolander and Anchorman. Ryan Gosling is so funny in this movie. Like every look, he's got this bizarre energy. And with Anchorman, right, he's doing a lot. Will Ferrell, Jim Carrey, Mike Myers, these guys are doing big, loud performances. Ryan Gosling has a little bit of that, but what's funny about him is much more this weird energy he's got, where he's kind of like, you can see in his eyes, he's angry and he's like on the verge of doing something really weird at any moment. And he thinks he's really smart, but he's really dumb. Like that's always been, a staple of these, but it really, I don't know, it really works. And all I'm saying is, I don't want to say that I don't think this movie needed the big monologues or that they were too long or anything like that. They're definitely not my style. Like it's not how I like a movie in general, but like I get it. There's also a lot going on. Like there's many plot lines, there's lots of characters. There's like a mother and daughter storyline that I do think the movie kind of loses a little bit of track of. There's all this stuff in the Mattel boardroom that I hated, partially because it's just like all this weird corporate propaganda that we have to watch now. That like some of it's good. I liked Blackberry. I liked Air. I liked Tetris. But at the same time, they're about a company and they're also filled with like untruths. And I mean, like that Flamin' Hot movie, apparently that's not even close to what actually happened. But like this idea now that we're getting these movies from corporations about the product. Like you could say what you will about Iron Man and all that, but at the beginning of the story, those things were stories, right? Like comic books were stories. So adapting those into this like medium makes sense. And that's like, oh yeah, and we're selling toys too, obviously. But when this at its core, that's what this is. Whereas this is like, we're taking a story that happened in real life, or we're taking a product that we have and then we're reverse engineering a story around that. Feels different. Also, the fact that the Mattel CEO is a character at all just doesn't work for me. I think Will Ferrell is funny in the movie, but like, man, we don't need that. It's not a short movie. It's still in the 2-hour range, but also B, the movie grinds to a halt in the middle, and it's exactly that point where where it really does, and it doesn't help anything else. Every so often you cut back to Will Ferrell and the boardroom guys. It's like, what are we doing? Like, oh, right, they're in it. That's every single time. There's like 5 times where we cut back to them and it's interrupting a more interesting thing that's happening somewhere else. And the only reaction I have is like, oh, right. That's still happening. They're still kind of traveling or whatever. It just doesn't work. But also, yeah, it's the Mattel CEO as a character being kind of sexist and being part of this patriarchy and being kind of patronizing to Barbie. And it's like, see, that's Mattel CEO, we're patronizing. But I mean, we made the movie, so obviously we're not that. But like a Mattel CEO could be that, but we're cool. So, problem solved. It's like this, by hanging a lampshade on it, you don't solve the problem. In the same way, I think this movie has a lot to say about feminism and Barbie's role in feminism and how one kind of affects the other in a way that I think is pretty profound. And like the movie definitely has like a point to make about that. There's a bit where a little kid who's like 13 or 14, so I don't know if that counts as a little kid, but like a child gives Barbie this kind of reads her the whole everything that's wrong with Barbie. Barbie, set feminism back 50 years, unrealistic body standards, all that stuff. And I think it works because this kid does say these things to Barbie, and Barbie's like, no, that's not what I was trying to do. And by the end of the movie has kind of reconciled that, where it's like Barbie now knows what Barbie wants to do, and the kid who said those things kind of understands where Barbie was coming from. That being said, the kid also throws in a critique of consumerism, capitalism, and like Barbie being like, buy Barbie, but also buy Barbie clothes and buy clothes like Barbie, like that element of Barbie. And the movie has nothing to say about that, but I do think it's got this like, well, see, obviously we said it, like we put the line in the Barbie movie, so like we get it. But it's like Barbie as a product of capitalism, and not just like an agent of capitalism, but this Barbie movie also then as a part of the historical impact of Barbie and capitalism. Like, I think there's still a world where this kid goes home from all of this stuff and he's like, I still don't like Barbie though, because of all the plastic. Plastic's bad. I don't know. I think this might end up being this like thing that a corporation can do to kind of launder their image a little bit. And yeah, like make it say like, well, yeah, but like we stood that in the movie, so we get it. We're cool, just like you, and not have to do anything about it. I don't really know what Mattel's like sustainability stuff is, but it just bugged me that the movie brought up capitalism and consumerism and Barbie's part in that, and didn't do anything with it. If they just didn't bring it up at all, I would be a little bit more like sympathetic. I'd be like, well, that's not what the movie's about. That's not the story Greta Gerwig wanted to tell. So what are you going to do? The direction, production design is excellent. It looks great. It's got a really distinct like color palette. It's got a really distinct musical. Like there's that sting that I think you're pretty familiar with if you've seen the trailers, that I think is in like a Dua Lipa song or something. I assume that's who that was. I know she has a song in the movie. I also assume she's got a couple of cameos. There's every so often a movie like this comes out. Zoolander 2 was like this, where there's like cameos from famous people. You can tell because they're not main characters, but they get the amount of attention from the camera a main character gets, but you don't know who they are, where you're just watching, you're like, that guy's something. It's like some fashion guy or something, and this is cool for him, cool for the people that made the movie, but it's going way over my head. A lot of that here. Not a lot, actually, just some. But yeah, Ryan Gosling is absolutely fantastic. Ncuti Gatwa and Kingsley Ben-Adir, Gravik from Marvels and stuff, not from Marvels, well, Marvel's A Secret Invasion, but Kingsley Ben-Adir, both of them, him and Ncuti Gatwa, so funny. Seemingly funny as well, but those two are kind of the henchmen of Ken, who is kind of the antagonist of the movie to some extent, and they just have a lot of silly lines, and they're very silly. I'm always impressed, especially when you're like, what I imagine Kingsley Ben-Adir is, which is kind of a hunky guy. I don't know exactly if that's what Ncuti Gatwa was going for, and I think Ryan Gosling has that, but he's been doing this for a little while, right, with like Nice Guys and stuff like that. But like, it's very funny, and like it's very endearing to see a character play an idiot and a goofball. And yeah, it's just like, you see movies now where movie stars have this really protected image, and I appreciate a performance like that. And these guys are not like doing most of the stuff. They're not saying all the lines, but just in the background, they're making silly faces. There's like one bit where like Barbie and Ken are having a conversation. Everybody else is there. Ken starts playing music or something on like a keyboard. I don't know. I don't even know if we ever see what he's doing, but the music exists like in the universe, like characters can hear it. And Shujigat was Ken just starts doing a little dance, just a little thing in the background, but it's super serious. Like he's got his focus, and it's just really funny. The other really funny character here is Kate McKinnon was good. I like her a lot. I think she's very funny. Sometimes I think she's one of those actors who I think you can throw into something and she mostly works, but if that thing is utilizing her well, she's great. And I think like this really got it, like her vibe being important to the character. Yeah, I don't know. It's got a lot of important things to say, and a lot of things that people wanted to hear a movie say, and I think that's great. At the same time, it's really funny, and I don't know, you know, it's good. People love it. It's making money. I guess like if this was doing Anchorman, if it was just doing Anchorman, it would be one of the best comedies of the decade, and it's still very funny, but I wouldn't say it is a comedy. I think it is a comedy drama or something like that. It's something in the middle. Again, it feels a lot like a musical or a play. I don't think that's bad, but at certain points, this movie feels a little unfocused, and you can see some things, ideas, characters kind of fighting for control of the movie. Sometimes it's really dumb stuff like the Mattel CEO where you cut all that stuff, it doesn't matter. And sometimes it's Ken's journey that is fun and exciting and silly and goofy, and sometimes it's Barbie's journey being more serious and contemplative and full of crying, and it's just, they're different. Like, I'm sure if you are super like invested in those monologues and they're just like, finally, someone's saying that thing I've always thought, then that part of the movie like is just as engaging as the comedy for you. And that's, I think, maybe where the mileage will kind of vary for some people. I don't know, talked about this movie for like half an hour. Overall, it's pretty good. And Ryan Gosling, I did not originally think he would be a good Booster Gold. Like, it's not that I didn't think he'd be a good Booster Gold. I never had really strong feelings about Ryan Gosling as Booster Gold. I kind of had a Booster Gold in the back of my, like, that I was like, this guy would be the guy. And it's that one actor that everyone always picks. I do think he's still a really solid pick. But at the same time, after seeing this, I'm like, I don't know. I think we gotta have I think we have to have a booster off or something. Also, the whole like beach off joke. I remember seeing this in the trailer and going, I didn't like it. I didn't like it here either. I didn't think it was very funny. And I just feel like it's the one joke that like really didn't work for me in the moment. Like there's dancing, and the dancing's good. This will be a musical in 5 years, 100%. This movie's gonna end up making like $800 million, maybe $1 billion worldwide. I don't know what the worldwide of this is gonna end up being. So that will change, but it's gonna be a huge success. I bet they'll make a musical of it, and it will be pretty popular. It'd be a perfect musical for tourists too in the city. Who like, oh, the whole family's coming in from out of town. Oh, let's watch Barbie. And man, if those actors are able to get anywhere near where like Ryan Gosling and Margot Robbie were in this, huge win. It'd be a great musical. They need to make some more songs. But also if they stick with this kind of 70s, like, that's not exactly what that one song is, but also you can tell that's where a lot of the inspiration for kind of the music came from. If they stick with that, oh, it could be so fun. This could be a real winner. So, conclusion, the Barbie musical is going to be great. I think the movie was very good. It wasn't my favorite comedy of the year, and it wasn't my favorite drama of the year, and it wasn't my favorite dramedy of the year, or whatever we're calling Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but it was very good, and I think it is, yeah, I don't know. You watch it or don't. It's not a movie I think you need to run out to the theater for. If that's something, I think you can watch it at home and have a good time with it. So, you know, you don't have to wait, especially if like the theaters are packed with people. You don't want to be in a crowded theater full of people. That's fine. I get that. This is not like Oppenheimer where it's like, oh my God, you have to see it on a screen that's as big as a football field or whatever. But yeah, it's good. And everybody in it is good, especially Ryan Gosling. There's something about him in this. He's so funny. It looks like he's got faces that would work in like Taxi Driver, like the emotion and just the unhinged, like in his eyes. And it's so funny. He, at one point, someone's like, hey, can you tell me the time? And he's like, wow, can't believe how cool it is that men are in charge. And the person's like, okay. And he goes, I will build my fortune there. It's just like that line. And it's great. He's too handsome. If he wasn't as handsome, he would be like on Saturday Night Live. But the problem is he's so handsome. It's like, well, no, you'll do the Notebook. Like that's what you would do. But man, yeah, very good performances. And yeah, Barbie's, it's not bad. I honestly, it grew on me. So if that means anything, 7 out of 10.